I think that Bill Belichick at North Carolina would be a brilliant move. And I want to express why I think that. It's reported that Bill Belichick, former New England Patriots head coach and 6-time Super Bowl champion, has accepted the North Carolina head coaching position, but he has a caveat. He has laid basically his own football strategy Bible on the desk of the North Carolina Board of Trustees, and he wants guaranteed investment, he wants control, he wants dedication to football. And I think that North Carolina making that move and transitioning, maybe not to being a total football school because they have a good basketball program, but investing a lot more in football and becoming more of a football school than they've ever been would be a wise idea. It'd be a very smart idea. And the reason I say that has less to do with North Carolina. It has a lot to do with North Carolina. You know, they have recruiting advantages, they have resources, it's a good school with a good alumni base, they're well positioned. It's also in regards to the fact that, you know, Josh Pate has talked about this for years. He's ranted about this, in fact, for years. The ACC is a weak conference. My dad doesn't call it the all cupcake conference for nothing, and others call it that too. I have called the ACC that before. The all Charmin conference. It's not good. The ACC is very boring. It's very entertaining if you just watch football and want to watch it like I do. I watched Boston College and Louisville closely, for example. Pittsburgh and SMU. Pittsburgh and Clemson was a very entertaining game. By boring, I don't mean in terms of entertainment. I mean in the sense that you know for the most part when an ACC team gets to the postseason, they're not going to do anything against the SEC or the Big Ten. You had Clemson, who, you know, in 2016, 2015, 17, really 2015 to 2019, 2020, was competitive in the postseason, was a national walking behemoth in power. But they've fallen off ever since 2021. Florida State in 2023 was a competitive team, but they didn't get an opportunity to play for the national title in the postseason. They did have an opportunity to compete with an SEC Big Ten team in the postseason, though. They played Georgia in the Orange Bowl. Their players opted out. Some of Georgia's did, but Georgia kept their roster a lot more intact. I think part of that showed the stronger culture, and they whooped FSU. They destroyed them 63-3. Before that, in 2013, they won it all. 2014, they went to the playoff, the first ever year of the 14 playoff, and got annihilated. Typically, the ACC overall has been a pretty weak conference, but occasionally they've had some national title contenders. Even at one point, more so than the Big Ten. They were a weaker conference than the Big Ten, but their teams at the top were better. That's not the case anymore. Miami is the ACC's best team in terms of power ratings. They're 10-2 and playing in the they're playing literally in the Pop-Tarts Bowl after spending millions of dollars in NIL to get better recruits and go in the portal. They're playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl against Iowa State. It's just, wow. Now, I don't think Miami's done building their program. I've been of the belief that even in this year where I thought, you know, Miami should make the playoffs, or maybe the season isn't a complete failure, but it's certainly not a success. It's kind of that uncomfortable limbo if they don't make the playoff, that they still weren't done building their program yet. It was year 3 under Cristobal. Their recruiting is still hitting new strides. They're still building their roster. But with the easy schedule they had and with what they were bringing in, you need to do well. And Mario Cristobal, I think, has 2 left feet. I think he can't get out of his own way. You know, James Franklin at least beats up on pretty much all the bad or mediocre or good teams he plays as long as they're not top 10 or top 5. Cristobal not only struggles against the top 10, top 5 teams, he can't get out of his own way against teams with inferior talent or smaller teams that may not even be all that good. You know, Georgia Tech, they did not have a healthy Haynes King. They still beat Miami and very much limited that offense of theirs, which is high flying. Against Syracuse, Miami led 21-0 at one point. They lost 45-38. It's just unbelievable. That is the ACC's best team, Miami, and their best program, I would say right now. Florida State's an absolute disaster at 2-10, And Clemson does not even have a top 25 recruiting class right now. And they're bringing in more 3-stars than blue chip players. I mean, if Dabo Swinney does not use the portal after this year, Clemson does have a lot of starters with returning, eligibility. So I expect they'll actually possibly be better next year than this year, Clemson will. But in the long term, it does not look good for Clemson. And for Florida State, I think the only reason they didn't fire Mike Norvell was the massive buyout, and I don't like all the coaching hires that he's made, or the fact that it looks like they'll go after Thomas Castellanos in the portal. Gus Malzahn's made those QBs work in his system before, but we'll have to see. There's a massive opportunity here for Bill Belichick if North Carolina invests in him, invests in his staff. He's put together a plan for dedicated roster spending, and some people mocked this. Like I saw people saying Bill Belichick is just asking North Carolina to do what other schools do already. It's kind of funny that people think this is special. And to a certain degree, yeah. But a lot of those schools that have been doing this are, wait for it, Big Ten, SEC, Florida State, and look what happened to them because they only relied on the portal. I think Ole Miss may even be a similar tale with this, so they didn't have the same type of collapse. Still a failure, though, because they didn't reach the playoffs. And then maybe Miami. There aren't many programs in the ACC who are doing what Belichick is proposing, or at least with the amount of resources that North Carolina has. They have a naturally advantageous recruiting grounds in the Carolinas. They've recruited the DMV heavily before, like Virginia getting good players out of there, Maryland, kind of the central part of the Atlantic coast, those areas. And they have resources. And they've put together good football teams before under Mac Brown, who I did not think was a very good head coach at North Carolina in his second time around. Hopefully he enjoys a good retirement and he's a good person, but I didn't think that with, Sam Howell and the talent they had and how they recruited at points in his tenure, that he was a good game manager or even a good developer or that he utilized his resources properly. North Carolina has an opportunity to change that. And you look at their schedule in 2025, and I kind of hate this and love it because I don't want college football to end, but it does. Good things have a beginning, and they have an end, and the 2024 season is going to come to a close here in these next 2 months. But you look at North Carolina's 2025 schedule, they host TCU, they play at Charlotte, they host Richmond, they play at UCF, and then in conference they have road games at California, at NC State, at Syracuse, at Wake Forest, and they host Duke, Stanford, Virginia, and Clemson. It's a very workable schedule. If they put together monstrous resources and get really good portal players, Steve Belichick is probably going to be their defensive coordinator based off of what I've heard, and he has done a great job at Washington, and they get a good offensive coordinator and put together a good staff. I mean, who's to say they can't have immediate success in year one? And then beyond that, if they're willing to invest in football and have a good staff with, returns, like exponential returns or compounding returns, I think it is the term, they can have a lot of success in the ACC. So I think it's a brilliant move. I think it's a big-time hire for North Carolina if they decide to make the commitment, because if they don't give Belichick what he wants, even though they've, they want to hire him, but if they don't give him everything he wants, he won't accept the job. And then that will leave North Carolina, I think, in a very, very tough position moving forward. North Carolina right now is making a decision between going all in on football and potentially being one of the better programs of the next few seasons, perhaps next few decades, because of the investment they'll be making, or basically saying they're exclusively a basketball school until they change their mind. And it may be too late to change their mind with all the conference realignment stuff and the rumors and the speculation that's going on with the changes in college football. So they could run the ACC, North Carolina could, if they make this decision, if they invest in football. I don't think it's a guarantee. I feel like this hire would either be very successful or fall flat on its face. But I happen to think that Belichick is a good coach. He's had a year off. College football is more like the NFL than it ever has been before, especially in 2025 and beyond with the the salary caps where schools can directly pay their players and make deals. I think it's a massive opportunity. I think North Carolina should go all in. And that's my opinion on North Carolina potentially hiring Bill Belichick. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and also hit that notification bell so that way you can get notified when new content from College Football with Sam drops. I appreciate you very much, and also share the video around to others who you know enjoy the sport of college football and love it as I do and as you do, and comment your thoughts down below so that we can have a conversation, because I want to know what you are thinking. And join our Discord server where we talk college football 24/7 via the link in the description or down below in the pinned comment. Thank you to my Heisman Patreon members, Crash2488, Brasco Rascal, and Conlo OH. Thank you to my All-American Patreon members, Chris Lane, Ismar, and Tyler Nye. And thank you to my All-Conference members, John Lynn, Roaming Gnome, Matthew Sale, Austin Christmas, Joshua Jorgensen, and Will Loftus. Make sure to check out my merchandise store and or Patreon page, or super chat down in the comment section below to support the channel. The Patreon page and merchandise store links are in the description or down below in the pinned comment. I hope you have a wonderful day. It is December, so Merry Christmas and also Happy New Year. I will see you guys soon.